Well, look what you just went and done did. You just fell down the stairs, landed smack on your butt here on the floor of the dank basement. I am Paul Shellbetter, your Uncle Squinty, with another nasal snuff review, and I'm really looking forward to this one. My friend Joseph O said you need to, if you have not done so, you need to review Aged Border Rapé from Sir Walter Scott. And I looked back at my catalog. I now have 1.1K videos, more than 1,000 videos on this channel, almost 10 years cranking out these reviews. That's not bad. And I had to look back and I realized if I did review this before, I couldn't find the video in my library. And since it was such a lovely gift from Mr. Joseph, I thought I would do a proper review of the Sir Walter Scott Aged Border Rapé. Now, I do have limited experience with rapés. Samuel Gawith makes an excellent one. Their black rapé. It's very good. Viking makes a rapé, and I think Viking is essentially manufactured by Gawith. I might be wrong, but Viking, it's good. You know, it's kind of a marine scent. You get a little sea salt, you get a little sisal rope, you get a little aged wood sort of behind everything, and most of all what you get is a nicely aged, nicely fermented, dark, strong tobacco. All right, so let's see what we've got in the tin. It is demi-coarse. Now, I have to confess, this is not my first try of this snuff today, nor is it my first attempt to cut a review, because I don't feel that I've done justice with my first two takes. This really is a stellar snuff, and in my opinion, it's one that you should have. If you have never tried the black rapé style of a snuff before, this is your snuff to try. This is a good example of the style. In fact, it's the best example of the style that I've come across. So, okay, in the tin, we smell that aged tobacco, fermented tobacco scent. I'm getting almost a chocolate edge to this, which is interesting, but it's way in the back. The grind, as I said, is demi-coarse. It's a little bit more coarse than your average snuff. Not that Johnny Scott has ever made an average snuff. But it's more coarse than, let's say, a McChrystal's O&G grind or a Toke Spanish Gem, certainly. It's certainly more coarse than that. I can actually pick up individual grains easily. But they don't stick to my fingers in a way, there's not enough moisture that I could actually ball up a little pill of it and it would stay together. It's not going to happen. It will make your fingers dirty. Be careful, because it's messy. It is. Black rapés are messy. I think what's even messier, we'll deal with the expelled mucus in a minute. That is about the ugliest thing you'll ever see in your life, but hey, I'm glad I'm blind. All right, here we go. I'm going to pinch this. This is my fourth pinch of this snuff in the last hour, so I am quite able to tell you about it without taking a lot of time. But it's customary for me to try it on camera, so I will do so. Here we go. Thank you, Joseph. Here's to your health. Be well. I appreciate the friendship, and I certainly do appreciate the gift of the snuff. So here we go. Aged Border Rapé from Sir Walter Scott. Big pinch. Yeah, that was a piggy pinch, man. It's like snuff gluttony. Woo. Oh, brings a tear to the eye. Yeah, I understand that, you know, Sir Johnny Scott is like nobility and stuff, but I would love to sit down with Sir Johnny and a cup of tea or a pint of stout or something and talk snuff. It would be a great moment because, like Roderick at Toke, and a few other snuff makers like Chris from OSP, like Chef Daniel, he gets it. Like Rene Rosinski, he gets it. He gets what snuff is supposed to be. They embrace the history of the snuff. They come up with new and interesting snuffs, new combinations of things, but always with a little bit of reverence and a regard for the history, the 560-year history of nasal snuff taking. By Europeans. I mean, natives, indigenous Americans, had been using nasal snuff probably for centuries before that. And these guys, the Chris from OSP, the Renee Rosinskis, the Johnny Scotts, they come up with snuffs that are so good and still with a lot of reverence for the history. It's one reason, Jop, I don't know if you ever watch my Yelp. It should be Yelp, I think. Yelp Bess. We're friends on Facebook, but we never correspond. Molins de Crawlings, one of the greatest communal snuff communes, whatever, in the world. And Yop is a snuff historian and was able to recreate styles that were 150 years old just by research. Amazing. There have been some real artisans in the business over the years. Johnny is definitely one of them. Sir Johnny, excuse me. Yeah, you can certainly tell I'm a Yank, can't you? No regard whatsoever for the tradition of Great Britain and its noblesse. Got a new king, really old king, but a new king. I remember when they were calling him Bonnie Prince Charlie. Isn't that who it is now, Charles? King Charles. His Royal Majesty. Wow. And I think William is next. Once Chuck kicks the bucket, it's going to be Billy. I think it'd be fun to hang out with royal people. I have actually had the pleasure of meeting kings twice in my life. Real honest-to-God kings. In a shortwave radio conversation years ago, I spoke briefly with Juan Carlos Borbón of Spain. Just basically the normal ham radio contact. Verified each other's call letters, talked about the signal, talked a little bit about radio, and then I thanked him as a blind person for the Organización Nacional de Ciegos Españoles, or ONCE, the National Organization of Spanish Blind People, and also for his love of international broadcasting through Radio Exterior de España. And then another time I was producing the audio for a big music festival, 10-day music festival in Minneapolis, and it was sponsored by Volvo, Shearson American Express, and also by the Swedish government. And I got to meet King Carl Gustaf of Sweden briefly. Raise a glass to him. We sipped a beer briefly together. So I've actually met two kings. So I will put my two kings against your one knight, and we should have coffee or tea or a beer or something, Sir Johnny. I think we'd have a good time together. And I think you could teach me an awful lot about nasal snuff. Here we go. Yeah, I can't stop pinching this. Although, let's talk about some of the other characteristics other than the aroma. The aroma is lovely. It's what I would expect from a truly finely crafted, pure tobacco snuff. It is just lovely. But let's talk about some other things like that all-important nicotine. Now, my regular viewers or longtime subscribers understand that your Uncle Squinty pretty much drinks nicotine for breakfast. I mean, I have a really high tolerance for nicotine. Most days. Some days, not so much. But most of the time, my body chemistry is such that I can tolerate a lot of nicotine. So when I rate the nicotine, I have to keep people in mind that are more naive to nicotine than I am, maybe have a much lower tolerance. And my scale is not scientific. I am not using any kind of laboratory procedures to check the actual nicotine per milligram level of the snuff. This is strictly subjective and based on my own experiences. However, on that subjective scale where 1 would be no perceptible nicotine and 10 would be the shakes, nausea, the nicotine hiccups, the spins, you don't like it, watering mouth, heart palpitations, that's a 10. You don't need that, by the way. You want a lot of nicotine, just pinch a little more snuff, and that way you can pace yourself. Be sure to have a glass of water, a cup of tea, something handy, because, of course, the antidote for nicotine overdose is to rinse it through your system. That's first and foremost what you want to do, because nicotine is excreted through the kidneys and urine. So keep that in mind if you're nicotine naive. This is good and strong, satisfying, nice. A little tougher to sniff, a little more pressure required to get it up into the nose, but once it's in there, it stays there. The back drip, the throat drip as they call it, you got to work for it. You have to swallow using the roof of your mouth and kind of push it back, sniff it back. And when you do that, you get a little bit of drain. The drain is, as they say, piquant. It is a little spicy. It's going to irritate your soft palate over time. Couple of pinches, 4 pinches, for instance, in the last hour, no irritation whatsoever. But I can see the potential. Forward drip, not a lot of it. You're not going to produce a lot of mucus through the front end of your nose, but what you do produce, as I've stated before, is just plain ugly. I mean, ugly. So you're going to want to have a good dark-colored handkerchief handy, or you will be making modern art with your schnoz. So that's one very minor disadvantage of this. Scent persistence is gorgeous. I think I will be smelling this lovely fermented aged tobacco scent up in my nose for the next at least couple of hours. Because since doing my very first pinch an hour ago, I've still had that scent in my nose, even as I took this refresher pinch for this video. So the scent persistence on this is just priceless. Are there drawbacks to this snuff? Yes, there are. A couple of very minor ones, not enough to keep this from getting a 5 out of 5 on the squinty scale, the best you can get. The couple of minor problems with this are dirty fingers, ugly forward drip, and the slight chance you could irritate your soft palate with it. But everything else about this is 100% solid, perfect. So you got to get some. And I am not shilling for Sir Walter Scott's. I have not been compensated in any way for saying it's a good snuff. It's just a really, really, really good snuff. So get some if you like the scent of aged pure tobacco. And it is a lovely scent. I mean, it really is. This is what I wish all snuffs could be at this quality. I don't want them all to smell like this, of course. But to be at this quality, it's truly a work of love and a work of art. And my sincerest salute to Sir Johnny Scott. By the way, if you've ever wondered who Sir Walter Scott is, if you've ever been interested in Napoleon, who almost became Emperor of the world, the little general, man, he was tough, except around bunnies. That's a story I'm going to have to save for tonight's pinch, which is squiddy. Yeah, he actually got attacked by a bunch of bunnies and freaked out. Like this big military leader's conquered half of Europe, everything. And, badass all the way around, and he gets attacked by a bunch of domesticated bunnies. And he freaks out. True story. I don't know if Sir Walter Scott wrote about that, but he wrote, I believe it's 3 volumes. I am told it is the most authoritative work on the life of the Emperor Napoleon that has ever been written in the English language. So if you're interested in biography, history, European history, Sir Walter Scott's treatise on the life and career of Napoleon Bonaparte is pretty impressive, I am told. And I do know that his grandson is making some absolutely brilliant nasal snuffs. My hat is very much off to Sir Johnny Scott. Yeah, it's good. Joseph, I do thank you again for this. I hope that this review has done this wonderful snuff justice. I tried to be very careful with this one. I can't stop myself from going back to this tin. You know, Joseph, this is going to be gone in like 2 weeks. I'm going to be sniffing the daylights out of this. Here we go. Yeah, the grains on this are pretty big. Yes, they are. They're bigger than grains of sugar. White sugar. White sugar, black rapé. Right on. Here we go. Cheers. Absolute. It's just pure nasal pleasure. You know, if I was a more sensitive type, I might even have to go get a towel, if you know what I mean. This is just splendid. Joseph, again, thanks. Let's see if we can talk. Wait a minute. Yeah, I think I can talk now. Tonight, a pinch which is squinty, I will probably be pairing this self-same aged border rapé with a real good single malt scotch, because that would be perfect with this. Nice, even a nice blended scotch, good quality blended scotch, something at the level of Teacher's scotch or better. This would pair badly with J&B. It would pair badly with Dewar's. It would pair brilliantly with Johnnie Walker Black. It would pair pretty well with Pinch. I think this would pair very well with a high-class, well-aged single malt. This would also be good with a denser brew. A beer that is somewhere between an ale and a stout in gravity would be ideal for this. I don't think this would be a good snuff to pair with any wine that I can think of, with the possible exception of a dry sherry. Might be okay, because it might add a little more wood to this. But I can't see a wine with this, really. I think the strongest bet for a pairing with this particular snuff is going to be an aged single malt whiskey. Just my opinion, guys. That's the best I can do. Thank you for subscribing. If you have not yet done so, press the subscribe button. The content is free. I don't even run ads on my channel. It's just all pure tobacco pleasure here. Well, and some bullshit as well. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do that. If you are subscribed, please press the bell. Ring the bell. The bell is the notification bell icon, and you can personalize your notification settings so you do not miss any new uploads from me. If you have not yet done so, hit that like button. My ego really needs a boost today. You know, come on, hit the like button. Even if you thought the video sucked, just say, it really sucked. Thumbs up. You know, hit that like button. I beg you. Now, let's talk about some things coming up in the future. I've got a fresh tin of Sir Walter Scott's Navigator here that I'm very eager to review. I'm going to be looking at these minis of McChrystal Snuffs that was sent to me by Paul P. in Pennsylvania. And I've got to look at this one. I got to make sure I've got the name right, because I can find nothing about Summer Blast. I've heard of Sun Blast, and I think that's an apricot with menthol. And there's Summer something else that's raspberry with menthol. This, I don't know. I really don't know. I can't find anything about it online except for one brief mention on Snuff House. And so I got to make sure I got the name right. The fruit scent is confusing me. It is neither apricot nor raspberry. Peach, maybe? The menthol for me, and actually the scent of the base tobacco, is kind of sublimating whatever the fruit topping was. I got to get to that one. We got the Navigator from Sir Walter Scott's. There will be other surprises as well. So tonight, Pinch Which is Squinty. Coming up probably tomorrow and Monday, a couple of more nasal snuff reviews for you. Do stay tuned. Thank you for watching. God bless you as always. And I hope you have a splendid weekend. It looks like it's going to be a great weekend up here in the land of 10,000 lakes. So stay tuned to the channel. Be happy. Treat each other well. And follow the golden rule and stop tracking mud across my nice clean kitchen floor. From the dank basement, I'm Paul Schellbetter. Thank you.